Welcome to the 4 Habits podcast, where we help you build relationships that thrive at home, at work, and in life. We're Dr. Andrea and Jon Taylor-Cummings, and every week we bring you actionable insights to create meaningful connections and lasting success. So let's dive in.
So in today's episode, we're talking about creating success as co-parents, post-divorce, as blended families by developing a child-first family dynamic. You know, these days there are more blended families, bonus families, than there are conventional families. So it's a really important topic. And to lead us in the conversation, we have our expert today, Dr. Jann Blackstone. Welcome, Jann.
Thank you. Thank you for
Really
having me.
Our pleasure. But as our audience will know, before we dive into the conversation, we need to give you a proper introduction. So John's going to share your bio with the audience.
And by proper introduction, we
Thank
mean
you.
we need to let you know why you need to listen to this lady here. Because she knows what she's talking about in this space. Well, let me give you some background here. So Dr. Jann Blackstone is a renowned expert in co-parenting, divorce, and blended family mediation. She founded Bonus Families, a nonprofit dedicated to helping divorced or separated parents create peaceful, child-first family dynamics. The author of multiple books, including Ex Etiquette for Parents and The Bonus Family Handbook, and we'll be talking about some of these books at the end, Dr. Blackstone coined the term bonus family to reframe the step family experience as one of gain, not loss. With decades of experience, she provides practical strategies to reduce conflict, improve communication, and help families thrive after separation. Her work has transformed countless families by making co-parenting smoother and more successful. So let's dive in. So Jann, divorce and co-parenting for so many people can feel like it's a real battlefield out there, but you spent your entire career, or at least a good chunk of it, showing that actually it doesn't have to be that way. What's the biggest mindset shift that parents need to make some kind of success out of this, especially when it comes to doing the right thing or the best thing for their kids? What's the mindset shift that they need to do?
I like that you said mindset shift, because that's exactly what it is. You have to stay in the present and realize what I do is I use an acronym, CARE, to kind of guide people through the whole process, what you have to do. CARE, C stands for communication. And we'll talk about that a little bit, because most of my clients will say, well, we need to improve our communication. What does that mean? That's number one. That's a whole another segment. Acceptance is A. And that's really the biggest thing that we have to really realize, is that acceptance of each person's individuality, backgrounds, experiences, not try to put them into a homogenized, blended kind of environment and saying, now this is your life. Because people resent not being seen. Children resent not being seen. And you have to, some of them are good at one thing, some are good at another. Our temperaments are all different, and you have to work within that platform in order to make it work. Then R is for respect, obviously. You have to respect the children and their backgrounds and their personalities. And E is for empathy. And that's really the bonder is put yourself in their shoes. How are they feeling? What would you like somebody to say to you at this time? And that's the whole premise, is just care. And then you can say, I'm handling it with care.
Oh, beautiful. I love how you wrapped up where we're going before we dive right into it. And as John said, this is such a battlefield, potentially. What would you say are the biggest mistakes, or some of the biggest mistakes, that parents make post-divorce when they have to work together for the sake of their kids, or in blended families?
They don't work together for the sake of the kids. They're invested in their own hurt and pain and desire to win and be right, because they've been hurt so badly. It makes it difficult to go forward. So they spend a lot of time with paybacks and making sure that the other person knows that they knew, and forget that you guys have already lived your life. I mean, I'm granted you haven't lived your life, but you've made the decision to break up. The children haven't. The children don't break up with their parents. So it's your job to make this transition, because I don't know about in the UK, but in the United States, the majority of kids that after their parents break up live in two different homes.
Yeah.
And so now the children have to get used to having two different beds and two different dinner times and two different lifestyles. And so it's the parents' job to make it as seamless as possible so that they don't have to split and be two different people.
Do you know, that's so both insightful and challenging at the same time, because it's demanding probably a level of skill in relationship that maybe they didn't have in the beginning, which is, you know, what contributed to where they are. How do you help people grow and sometimes grow up to take on that more adult mindset?
Really good question. You know, I take a little bit different direction in co-parenting. I suggest that people don't spend a lot of time trying to heal the past. The past is the past. It's your own personal healing. You can't make the other person change. The other person can't say they're sorry enough. You can't say you're sorry enough. So we have to reestablish in a completely different relationship from this point on about our children. You're no longer my ex-lover. You're no longer my ex-spouse. We are parents. And that's really, when you start approaching it like that, it eliminates all that emotion and hurt and pain, and it takes that off of your shoulders. And now you can be the person you really want to be. You know.
But what if they say, look, they still have in their head, this person is fundamentally a bad person, and they're going to be saying bad things. Or I understand they're saying bad things about me. They're poisoning the children about me. I find that really difficult to deal with. How do you help them address that?
Realize what they're doing to the kids, because they are. No matter what somebody says about you, if your child hears the bad, and a lot of people don't know what bad mouthing is, and I like doing these podcasts because I can put out there what bad mouthing truly is. You think that, well, I don't know if you think it, but most people think that bad mouthing is saying really horrible things about somebody, calling them names. I even have clients who on their phones have derogatory names as when the person calls. So, and the kids read that and go, oh my gosh, you know. So bad mouthing is saying anything negative, even a humph or rolling your eyes. Be conscious of who's watching you. Your children, it's their DNA.
Yeah.
When you're talking about mom or dad, it's their DNA. They inherently know that they're half mom and half dad. So if you say something like, your mother is so lazy, or your father is never on time and it drives me nuts, you may not think that's bad mouthing, because I have tons of people come into my office and say, I don't bad mouth. Well, I ask them questions like that. They go, yeah, I have to say stuff like that. Yeah. How do you think your kids feel about that? They're sitting there going, oh, well, if mom or dad is saying this about dad, then they might feel about that way about me. They personalize it. So that's why those types I bring it to parents' attention. I'll say, okay, ongoing conflict, and I have all sorts of studies. Ongoing conflict actually impacts your child's brain development. Do you want to do that? Stop it. And most people who are not so enmeshed and don't have a mental, illness will understand that this is all me. I got to stop it. It's not really hurting the other person as much as it keeps me keyed up. So that's what I do, is I just point out what they're doing.
Yeah.
How do you, I mean, this is gold, the insights that you're giving already. How do you help people move past the hurt to be able to focus on, I get that they wouldn't want to be doing anything that's hurting the child, and helping them to see that will help. But there is fear associated with hurt, especially if you feel like you've been rejected. How do you help them move past that hurt, that fear of, that sense of rejection, that constant narrative of what the other person might be thinking or doing to get back at them?
I try to explain to parents that this is their opportunity now to be exactly who they want to be. You are not the person you are in response to the other person. You can be exactly who you want to be. If you want to be a good person, be a good person. If you want to be vengeful, that's on to you. That's what your choices. And I try to make sure that people understand that and nothing is in response. You know, don't you can't co-parent. You can't live a reactive life.
Yeah.
So you really have to start with yourself, and you can't co-parent on the defense. So when somebody said, and oftentimes in the book that I just wrote, the Bonus Family Handbook, there are scripts that you can use to respond to people and also it talks to you about how to talk to them so that they don't get defensive and your conversations don't spin out of control. Sometimes it's just learned behavior and the words we use. So there's lots of different things.
Well, you just mentioned the word bonus family there again, and I'm conscious.
I will all the way through this.
Please do, because I'm conscious that deliberately you've used the word bonus family because you reading through your background and some of the information here, you were saying the word step family has all sorts of issues associated with that. Tell us more about that. What's the problem with step families?
Well, I mean, if you want to call your step family a step family, go ahead. I'm not. I called mine a bonus family because step did not describe the way I felt about my children, and it didn't describe how they felt about me or our family. And we had to figure out something that was more positive. I'm all about putting out the positive and not sitting in the negative. And when my bonus daughter came to me and said, when I introduce you as my stepmom, my friends think I don't like you. You know, it's the whole step monster kind of thing. And she goes, that's not true. So her mother and I, my bonus daughter's mother and I were used to hang around together because we got to be close friends because we were raising the children. And we were at a basketball game watching her daughter, my bonus daughter. And we just started throwing around names and it came up bonus. And a bonus is a reward for a job well done. You know, if you're in sales, you meet quota, you get a bonus. Well, I mean, we were all working really hard, all of us. So we were a bonus family.
Yeah, absolutely. Step absolutely sounds like certainly in my mindset, sounds like a step down, a demotion.
Yeah, well, this
is absolutely the mindset of let's around here.
Yeah, there's a narrative around it already.
Yeah,
there isn't, and it's because of Grimm's fairy tales. Quite frankly, we were all brought up with those, and the wicked stepmother, or the wicked stepfather, and some of us aren't so wicked. Some of us are trying really hard. And trying to integrate our own biological children with other people. And, I thought we needed an upgrade.
Yeah, we need a new language around it. I love the way if we go back, a couple of paces with the conversation, I love the way you help people separate how they respond, how they choose to respond from whatever is coming at them, because that's a really important moment of breaking the cycle, the pattern of behavior that you're stuck in, and taking responsibility for who you want to become. How have you seen that? Do you have any examples that you can share of where things were and how people have changed or how the system, the experience has changed as a result of becoming more responsible for how you turn up?
Well, first of all, the term bonus being accepted the way it is. People want positive. They want to feel positive about their lifestyle. And I've been using the term and talking about a collaborative approach to co-parenting and blending families since, the early 90s. So it's taken this long to really get it out there. But thanks to the internet, I mean, I built a website in 1999 and started using it. The same one that I talked about with you guys at bonusfamilies.com. And it just goes all over the world and people are attracted to positive. And it's not like I just do a Pollyanna, oh, everything's so nice. I give people tools because I've been doing this for over 30 years, and it was not easy at the beginning. When you're blending a family, it's all encompassing. It takes over your life. You've got kids that are not yours. You've got to deal with an ex, your own ex, your partner's ex. They don't like you. Living in that environment with all that negativity, there is no solace. And I decided I was going to change it. I wanted my kids to have a happy life. I wanted a happy life. And I think setting examples, people are attracted to positive. So at least I want them to. I don't want to have negative in my life. So
I love the sound of that positive, and maybe that's where we're going with this. But I don't think there is a silver bullet. But is there what would you say is this the most important thing to do in getting having a successful blended family? Is there one thing that you need to make sure you absolutely got to nail this one?
Yeah, we talked about it. It's the acceptance part. After looking at things, acceptance. Being able to realize that everybody's different and care for them because they're now part of your life and they're yours, warts and all, and accepting who they are. There are so many kids with special needs that are now in blended families, and people were not expecting it. Children that are older and come back into blended families because they have no place to go after college, and people are surprised that oops, I got something I wasn't expecting, more people in my house. Acceptance of the lifestyle and acceptance of each person's individuality, so important. If you try to buck against them, they won't like it and they won't want to be part of the family. For example, when I first married he's now my ex-husband, but when we first started making this blended family, I had an only child for 6 years. For people out there who have only children, you know that their experiences are different than when you have siblings. He had 2 children, and the children's were 4. My daughter, my bonus son was 4. My daughter was 7, and my bonus daughter was 8. So that was we had that sort of dynamic.
Right. Similar ages.
Their dad, my daughter's bonus dad was a wrestler, a player, goofy, and his children loved that. My daughter hated the physical contact. She was a reader. She was more solitary to herself. She was an only child. She knew how to self-soothe and do all those things that she needed to do as an only child. But the experience of having a sibling and being so much more rambunctious was different for her. When when everybody was wrestling, my husband would then grab her and bring her down with everybody and try to wrestle with her, so that he had 3 kids on the floor, and it just freaked her out.
Yeah.
And the only way it started to really gel is when he allowed her to be who she was. She loved to watch. She loved to sit on the sidelines and watch everybody play and joke and laugh. That brought her so much joy. But in his mind, he's thinking, if I don't include her, she's going to feel like an outsider. So I have to bring her down and joke with everybody and wrestle. And really, once he started to realize this is who she was, he knew, I love her, she loves me, but she's not she doesn't wrestle like this. That's what I mean by accepting the other person as an individual. Then she started to gel with the family. She would initiate the joking and goofy behavior, but she'd watch it almost like a spectator. She'd sit on the bed and laugh and prompt everybody as the kids were wrestling with their dad on the floor. So that's what I mean. Allow them to be who they are.
And that's a really beautiful example, just accepting each personality and interacting with them in a way that's meaningful and engaging for them. When you say
then they want to be part of the family. I want to be a member of this club. But if you're going to make me be something I'm not, I don't want to be a member of this. It's natural human nature to just reject all that stuff. And that's certainly not what you want.
And when you talk about acceptance, how far are we going with this? Are we accepting the exes as well?
Well, that was my question.
And what role does forgiveness play in all of this? Let's open it up, Jann.
Okay. Well, if it's a child-centered relationship, you're going to accept their mom and their dad. You just happen to be, in my case, I was married to their dad. And we had week on, week off, as many people do. Not when I first met them. When I first met them, they were trading the kids back and forth every day. That was not good for the children. They could not assimilate into the new relationship. When we went to week on, week off, then I was more the mother figure when they lived with me. That really, really upset their mother, because she was a very hands-on mom, and now somebody else was helping to raise her children, and she was not happy. And we butt heads for a couple of years. It took a while for us to reach out to each other because we were all three working parents. And I have a quick opening in the book, one of the chapters that talks about working, co-parenting as a team. There's a story that I tell about. She worked for a large tech company, and she was going on a sales meeting, and she had to leave out of town. And she was saying, could you pick the kids up, or would you pick the kids up, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying, of course, don't worry about it. Why are you so flustered? And she just went quiet for a second and said, Jann, how do people do this without three parents?
Backup plan.
And I went, you know what? I don't know, because there are plenty of times when I called her up because I couldn't pick up all the kids. And it evolved to that, though. It took probably 3 years, 4 years. Sometimes I say 5 years, because we didn't know we were supposed to get along. People break up like they're in high school.
Yeah.
Still, the only problem is in high school, you don't have kids. At least most of us don't. Yeah. And so you have to act, you have to break up like adults.
So what shifted in your case, and what have you seen shifted with others to get to this point of we're in it together, we're doing it for the kids?
That's it.
Right.
Child-centered.
Seeing the impact.
Respecting her as the mother, not being overzealous. Bonus moms cause more problems. They want to do a good job. They want their family to gel. They don't remember that somebody else is involved here, and you have to offer the bio parents respect. And the bio parents in return have to respect the bonus parent trying so hard and just being there. But when you have a bonus parent who comes in and tries to take over, you're going to have resentment. And then you have your partner trying to run defense. You really have to establish a pecking order in bonus families. The parents are the ones who make the rules. The bonus parent upholds those rules. The only time that there's a problem with that is when the bonus parent also has children. Now they already have rules for their kids. So now you have to really sit down and be collaborative. You cannot have two different things going on or three different things, because that just adds to the chaos of the lifestyle. And you're trying to set an example for your children and offer them solace. That's what your home is solace, where you can get away from all the chaos. You don't want your home to be the chaos. So then you're going to have to collaborate. Sorry if that's the ex. Oh, well, you're going to have to worry about that. You can't worry about that when you've got children depending on you.
Yeah.
I have a question in my mind now. Do these challenges, these problems go away when the children get older? I don't know what stage you are with your kids and your family and bonus family, but I'm guessing with some of the people that you work with, people that you're advising, you've seen the older children as well. Do the issues get any better? What's the situation then with adult children now?
Wow. I do have adult children. My children are I have bonus grandkids and biological grandkids.
Okay. All right. Good.
So yeah, there's different problems for different age groups. And acceptance is still important, because, okay, let's say you have the death of a spouse. Now we're talking about a different demographic, but a death of a spouse, and you remarry and you've got adult children. That's a whole different segment we have to talk about, because the acceptance of an adult child, of a new partner, is basically the same problem. You have to go slow. You have to get them involved. You have, and those types of things are really difficult. Grandchildren that are not yours. People, when you get into a bonus family, people talk about, oh, I love my bonus kids just as much as I love my biological children. I don't know if that's true. I think you have to accept that there's a difference. The intensity can be the same. The respect can be the same. But I don't know if you love your biological children the same. You love them with the same intensity, but you can see that they're different children. You assign their individuality to them. So I don't know how I got off on that.
But it's a good point to raise,
That's a good point.
and just accept that the intensity will be the same, the intent of goodwill towards them will be the same, but the way you experience the relationship can be very different. What about holidays?
Yeah.
How do you navigate the world of holidays with limited days off and both biological parents perhaps wanting time with kids? How do you do holidays as a bonus family?
I'm really glad you brought up the concept of time, because I want to make sure that parents understand that it's not their time. It's not mom's time. It's not dad's time. It's the children's time with their parents. They are only one person, and they have to split their time. So you do what you can to make life easier for them. Not now, is it easy to be around your former partner at a special event? No, not if you don't get along. So it really depends on the groundwork that you've laid all year, so that if you have to be together for a while during a holiday, you can, and it's not stressful for the children. The main thing is you have to make sure that you set the stage for positive interaction when the children are around. That's all that really matters. So if you are just dropping the child off, you say, have a great time. Leave it at that. Not, I'll miss you. Don't go spend a lot of time telling your child how much you'll miss them, because that'll puts the allegiance and betrayal in there. And if you bring that up, I'll explain it a little bit later. But from holidays, I would follow the children's lead. We started celebrating holidays together as a bonus, with their mom and me and their dad and all of the combined relatives, because the children initiated it. They got tired of getting up in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner and going to another house and having another dinner. And after about 5 years into the experiment, we were dropping off our bonus daughter to have Thanksgiving with her mom. And she just turned around and said, can we do this together this time? I mean, she was in her teens by that point. And her dad and I just looked at each other and went, okay. And we went home and got the turkey and brought it back to her mom's house. And we just had a combined dinner. Was it awkward? Yeah, a little bit. Did the kids know it was? No. We tried to cover it up, but the next year it was way easier. And the next year after that was easier. I have all sorts of stories about parents who grew into celebrating together. You don't have to, but just don't make the split hard on the children, because then holidays aren't fun,
Indeed.
And that's what you want holidays to be, is special.
Yeah. Special for them,
and create great memories. Yeah.
I guess the question in my head is, what does it take to get there? Does to accept, using the angle Andrew went down earlier, accept your ex, or the person who the ex partner, who usually is the bad person. We started talking about this, the offender.
In your mind,
it's them. It was always them. What part does forgiveness play in this, or understanding? Is that an important part here to be able to move on, or do we not need to cross that bridge?
There's two different ways you can look at it. Of course, for me, forgiveness is important. I mean, but I just don't spend a lot of time blaming people for their past and my past. One of the things that I tell bonus parents and co-parents is allow people to change for the better. Allow them to. You don't have to label them as this terrible person. Just like you don't want. I'm sure nobody puts their best foot forward when they're breaking up. Nobody.
Right.
And you want to label them like that, and do you want them to label you like that? Allow them to be a better person, and that's one. And then the acceptance that they have an importance in the children's lives, just like you do, as far as co-parents.
Yeah.
Kids don't look at it like this is my real home and then I'm visiting. You have to create an environment where they feel like they're included in part of a family at both places.
Indeed.
We touched on this before we went live with the recording. What's the most common label that you hear, and what's the reality of that?
Please explain. What do you mean by common label?
In terms of people blaming the other person, they're a bad person. They caused all of this. Is that?
It's the label that you mentioned earlier. Is turning up.
Oh, narcissist. My ex is a narcissist.
Yeah.
Oh, leading the witness. We were talking about that because everybody's ex is a narcissist. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, what is when you start describing a narcissist, it's somebody who's self-centered, who doesn't care about you, who doesn't really listen to you, is the center of attention. Is that not everybody's ex, or at least most people's? I mean, it's so. And the other thing that we were talking about is the true percentage of people in the population that are truly narcissists are under 6%. And because of social media, you might see a little bit more. But I mean, you can, and I've seen percentages of 1 point something, but the highest I've seen in doing research was 6%. That means 94% of the people out there are not narcissists. But when you get on the internet or read books or look at all the information out there, it's all about co-parenting with a narcissist. And I think it's dangerous to label people, because again, that doesn't allow them to change. If they're a true narcissist, then there's parallel parenting. And I'm not a real advocate of that. We could get into what parallel parenting is as opposed to co-parenting. But, labeling somebody and being negative, I'm all about the mind shift in trying to be positive and setting an example and doing what you know is right. And we all know that listening to people is important as talking. We all know that being compassionate is important. We all know that empathy is important. These are all problem-solving tools. That's what we need to do as co-parents, is incorporate that into our life.
You go, Jump. You go.
So we've kind of presumed in the conversation, when we talk about child first family dynamics, that's the good thing to do. Tell us why. What's the impact on children when we kind of default to our emotions around resentment and blaming and arguing, or forcing the child to pick sides? What's at risk here if we don't get it right?
Well, there's so many things at risk. First of all, ongoing conflict between parents actually impacts a child's brain development. So you take a look at that. But there's just, you're setting the example for how to get along with somebody. That you are their model. We are our children's model. So if you are resentful, they will grow up to think resentment is fine. We all know what resentment does to our insides and our personality and our brains. That you're setting an example for your children. So if you want to set an example of kindness, do your best to be kind. If you want to show how to do conflict resolution, resolve conflicts, then demonstrate it firsthand. And I can tell you about how to do that within a family as we speak, if you remind me. But we're setting an example, and that's what's wrong. If you want your child to be stressed out, then model stress. Model unkindness.
Go back quick for. I just want. Well, go on. You want to build on that?
I was going to pick on the conflict resolution bit. If you were to give
in the family,
if you were to give a handful of tips, let's camp there for a minute, because that's a big deal.
Well, it is a big deal. And that's one of the, when you keep asking about what makes a successful bonus family, I always ask people if they have a forum for conflict resolution. What happens if you don't agree? What are you going to do? In a family of people that are not necessarily related, it's really easy to break into factions. You know, you and me and my kids against you and your kids. And what I suggest is to, before you even move in together, there's something in the book called the before exercise. And that's how you sit down and you really kind of brainstorm together about how you want to create a family. But a forum for conflict resolution is just really a family discussion. And have rules for your family discussion so that your kids know that they have a place to go where they can air differences and find solutions. That's the most important, is have a family solution place, a place to go where you can figure things out together. In my particular case, I always tell the story about my own children. We brought them up, bonus and bio, to have a family discussion. And the rules were, the person who called the family discussion wrote invitations and invited the parents and invited the kids, and we all met at a certain time. And everybody, if you had plans, had to break them or postpone them until after the family discussion. And it was something that the kids grew up with. Well, remember I told you that my bonus kids, when I first met them, were 4 and 7, almost 8. By the time my bonus daughter was 9 and my biological daughter was 8, we were living in this family. And my daughter and my bonus daughter called a family discussion. And my husband at the time, their dad and I just thought, okay, what's this about? You know, like they want popcorn with movie night, or you know, they want a puppy, something. And we didn't think it was going to be anything. So they gave us invitations, and we all sat down, and the person who calls the meeting is the moderator. They're the ones who's and so these 8 and 9-year-old little girls stand up and go, "We think you're working too much, and we would like to spend more time with you." And we looked at them and went, "What? We had home offices. We thought we were home all the time. What are you talking about?"
No.
And they said, "But you work all the time." And we want, you know, and they just explained that they wanted to be able to have more fun, like we used to when we started. And I was so grateful that we had a forum that the kids didn't feel like they were being rejected. And it unified the family. It was my daughter and her bonus sister who came to us and said, "Look, this got to change." So we changed it. We actually established office hours, and we put it on our office, you know, and the kids knew that this is the time we're stopping and we have dinner together. But if we didn't have that forum for them to come to us and say that, as we got older, there were other more important things, but I always use that example because these were little kids that felt it was important to talk to their parents in this kind of forum. And that's the way they were being raised.
And felt they had a voice and a way to do it before it became acted out in behaviors.
Perfect.
No, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the other thing about child-centric, when I talk about putting the children first, that means they have a voice, but it doesn't mean that they run the show. That's really important. Parents have to be the parents. They have to be the decision makers. And something that's very important is the primary relationship in the bonus family, or the parents in the bonus family. They make the decisions and then say, as a couple, we've made this decision. So nobody thinks it's me against her or them. And the same thing goes with co-parenting. When you make a decision, because your children will come to you all the time and play the parents against each other. You know what mom said, you know what dad said, I can do this over there. Yeah. You always talk to the other parent, come to an agreement, and which is sometimes hard, but then you present it to your children as, your mother and I have discussed this, and this is what we've decided, whether you live together or not, because now it's not your house against my house.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to on that point, picking up on that and doing it maybe slightly differently. But I wanted to go back to that what you said earlier, where take an example. So somebody feels they found that one of those 6%, the bad eggs, the real genuine narcissist. They actually found one. I know
they got one.
Most of them are wrong, but they found that one, right? I think you said, I'm trying to give these people hope. You said for them, co-parenting may not be the best thing, parallel parenting, and you did say that's not necessarily your deep forte, but there's some. Is there anything you can share in that space that might give some of these people hope? Yeah, how do they do this? What does that look like?
If the parents are, if there's truly a narcissist in as one of the parents, parallel parenting is when you have completely separate lives. You don't discuss things. You make the decisions at your own house. You may have an app that you say, that you converse through. But even then, that's a little bit of co-parenting, but parallel is side by side. Right. I personally have seen with so many I've worked with thousands of couples and families over the years. Parallel parenting, if you're doing it because out of, I just don't want to deal with that person, instead of a true diagnosis, look at what it does to your children. It forces them to have two different homes, two different lives. They are the ones who often pass on the information. Half the time it's wrong. Your children, if you tell them to tell your mother something or tell your father something, sometimes they switch it around because they know it'll cause a fight. All those things are dangerous with parallel parenting. With co-parenting, the parents are making the decisions together, even though they're not together. I always say you don't have to be a couple in order to raise your children together. And that's the concept. Parallel parenting is a necessity if it's a necessity, but I don't think it's. I will come out and say I am not for it, but sometimes you have to use it.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you shared that and we clarified that, because I was beginning to think that there was some parallel solution, some alternative, a silver bullet that worked just as well out there. But what I'm hearing you say, it's definitely a second class plan B.
It's out of necessity if the parents absolutely can't get along.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. See that when people come to me and say my ex is a narcissist, I usually say, so. I mean, they still have a right to see their children. The courts will still ask them, no matter what the diagnosis is. It's kind of like, to the courts, it's kind of like my ex has cancer. I mean, if they're a narcissist, they're a narcissist, but they made a baby and with you. Yeah. And so you have to figure it out now. Bipolar disorder as well. I mean, there are plenty of people who are diagnosed with bipolar disorder who live wonderful lives. If they're successfully medicated and are following up on their therapy, they should not be said, well, you're bipolar, so you can't have your children. Come on. So these are all things that we have to work through as co-parents. You made a baby with that person. We have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So many nuggets in there. I'm conscious we're out of time. I mean, it's been such a fascinating conversation.
Shoot. It's
the time has gone. It's been fun.
We've really enjoyed the conversation, but we want to hear how people can get hold of the book, get in touch with you, find out more. What are the ways for people to
I can hold up the book. That's right.
Yes. That's your cue.
The Bonus Family Handbook.
The Bonus Family Handbook. Perfect.
Wonderful.
The thing that's really cool about this book, aside from the fact that it took me a zillion, it's kind of the culmination of everything, is It's got a very extensive index. And I want people to be able to, people don't read like we used to. They don't read from beginning to end. We Google everything. So I put an index in there so you could basically Google it and look it up and read about it. So
where can people get the book? Where can people get the book?
Anywhere books are sold. But I mean, Amazon's always the easiest. And there's a link on my website to buy the book through Amazon or Goodreads. And my website is bonusfamilies.com. People can email me at Jann@bonusfamilies. I have 2 N's in my name just to make life more difficult. And the phone number's on there too, but it's got a recording on it. Hi.
Yeah, we'll put that. We'll put what we can in the show notes. But thank you so much, Jann. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Very insightful, very
helpful for a lot of people listening into this.
I hope so. Thank you for having me.
And one, if you wanted to leave just one thought with anybody walking this path of co-parenting, post-divorce, bonus families, what's the one thing that you want them to focus on and get right?
Don't stop trying. Baby steps.
Beautiful.
Baby steps. Success is steps. And you'll get there if you put the children first.
Yeah.
Beautiful note to end on. Dr. Jann Blackstone, thank you so much for your time. Keep doing a great work. As we said, there's far more blended bonus families to work with now. So keep doing a great work in helping us do families well for the sake of the children and for our own sakes as well. So with that, to our audience, thanks again for joining us. Please like, comment, share, do all the things to help spread the word and share this with everybody who can benefit from it.
And let us know if you'd like to hear a particular topics you'd like to have addressed. Let us know. We'll see who we can get on the show.
Yeah.
But for now, it's a wrap, and it's
a thank you, Jann. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the 4 Habits podcast. Now, if today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget, take our free relationship skills quiz at the4habits.com/skills quiz to start improving your relationships today. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.